Shalom, shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to the Heavenly Father and His Son, Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Waharakah, Wadash, and double honor to the apostles and elders of GMS, the bishops who rule well, who teach well, and salutations to the hopeful elect brethren out there on the four corners of the globe, pushing this truth, and all truth and sincerity and strength, Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai. GMS Arkansas coming with a little short lesson. I was reading through Galatians, the second chapter, and I found what caught my attention more. It was a good read. Paul letter to these Galatians. When in the beginning of the chapter, basically the apostles and the church had to accept Paul. It was the leaders accepted his teachings. That, a few of them thought that he was copying the apostles, but they accepted his teachings because he was sent unto the Gentiles. And Peter being to the circumcision, he was to the uncircumcision Israelite foreigners. And he went and he preached Yahweh Shai, and a lot of people converted. So his message was straight. Then came when he had to confront Peter Peter was acting like a hypocrite, being with the Gentiles and then eating. But then when the circumcision come around, he was acting like he didn't want nothing to do with him. And Paul had to confront him about that. And then it got to the point, this is the last section where it was talking about being justified through faith and not by works. And that part right there caught my eye more, because you still have Israelites out here that just trying to strictly talk about the law, thinking the law will actually get them saved to the eternal life. Okay, so Paul was arguing against the idea that these Israelite foreigners who was Christians, they needed to keep the Torah, the Jew laws. Okay, certain things like circumcision, dietary, etc. You know what I'm saying? They had to keep that to be fully right with the Lord. But when Yahweh Shai came, then the whole dynamic of faith, because faith was around even before the laws even made it. You got to remember Abraham. Okay, the promise that was given to Abraham, that was before the Mosaic law had came around, the Torah. So it's about faith when you look at the end of the day. And this is what caught my attention more. Okay? If you know anything about the scriptures of the Lord, hey, the law not going to save you. See what I'm saying? Faith is what's going to save you. And when you have faith, guess what you're going to do? You're going to obey the laws to the best of your ability. That's how that goes. It doesn't go just obey the law. The law can tell you in James, when you mess up one, you messed up them all. Okay? And you try to obey the law will lead you into bondage put you in more bondage. Okay? So, Galatians 2:16, it says, knowing that a man is not justified by the works of the law. Okay? It says, knowing a man is not justified. Justified goes into declared righteous, set right with the Most High, when you're justified. Okay? Let's show you. Galatians, justified 13:44. Dikayo, I think.
Strong's G 1344. Dikaiao.
To render righteous or such he ought to be. You see what I'm saying? To show, exhibit, evince, one to be righteous, such as he is and wishes himself to be considered. To declare, to pronounce, one to be just, righteous, such as one ought to be. That's justified. Okay? That's justified. So it says, knowing that a man should be justified by the works of the law. Okay? Obeying the Torah. All the different moral commands is in there. So Peter, basically, when you go through this, he's basically claiming that keeping the law ain't never made anyone right with the Most High. Okay? It says, but by the faith of Yahweh Shai Mashiach. By the faith in Yahweh Shai Mashiach. So this contrast is real sharp. You see what I'm saying? He says, not works, but faith. You see what I'm saying? And when you got it, you're going to trust. You're going to trust. You're going to have an allegiance. Okay? You're going to have a relationship with Yahweh Shai. It says, even we have believed in Yahweh Shai Mashiach. It said, even we. So he said he includes himself in the other Jew believers. He said, even we. You see what I'm saying? So even the Jews back then who had the law had to come the same way. They had to come through faith if they wanted to be basically saved. You had to come the same way. So it says, knowing that a man is not justified by the works of the law, but by faith in Yahweh Shai. Even we believe in Yahweh Shai Mashiach. So ain't no what is it when you get that special privilege at the games and the club VIP, yeah. Ain't no VIP entrance for being religious or just being ethnically a Jew. You don't get no VIP treatment for being it. You gotta have faith, man. Okay? And it says that we might be justified, made righteous by the faith of the Mashiach. So you're going to be made righteous, right? By the faith of Yahweh Shai Mashiach and not by the works of the law. You see what I'm saying? And this is why he said we believe. Faith ain't no backup plan. It's the actual plan. Faith is the plan. It ain't no backup. Well, I'm going to do this and then. No, faith is the way to go. You know what I'm saying? For by the works of the law shall no flesh be justified. You see that? That's plain and simple. So you have a lot of groups that always just talking about you got to obey the law. Brothers and sisters, you got to obey. Well, you got to have faith. And when you have faith, you're going to obey the law. That's the way you should be telling the congregation. Just don't tell them obey the law, the law, the law. We just going to obey the law because it says right here in Galatians 2:16, point blank. Knowing that a man is not justified by the works of the law, but by faith of Yahweh Shai Mashiach. Even we have believed in Yahweh Shai Mashiach, that we might be justified by faith in of a Mashiach and not by the works of the law. It's point blank, bro. It don't get no clearer than that. You can basically shut the book right here. For by the works of the law shall no flesh be justified. You ain't going to be made right just trying to do the law. And the people, the ones who are just saying the law, you got to obey the law. You're going to hang our head on the law. What do you not get when you read that? What are you seeing? What are you seeing? You did not understand the promise of Abraham and that the law had came years later with Moses. You didn't understand that either. If you didn't, you're not going to even understand the next chapter. Okay? So this is not saying, oh, well, this is most people. No, this is no one ever. Because the law reveals, what the law does reveals sin. It don't erase it. It just reveals it. Okay? So let's go to book Acts. Let's go to 13. 13 and 30, 38. It says, "Be it known unto you, therefore, men and brethren, that through this man," talk about Yahweh Shai, "through this man, okay, is preached unto you the forgiveness of sins." It says through this man. So it's showing you the forgiveness is not coming through the law. It's not coming through you sacrificing a lamb or a goat. It's not coming just because you go to the temple, just because you go to church, so to speak. Hey, ain't no forgiveness coming through those actions, bro. It's coming through Yahweh Shai. You being embodied with the character and the moral standard of Yahweh Shai. Okay? The substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things hoped for, the substance of things not seen, faith. See what I'm saying? And it says forgiveness of sins. Okay? Sin is a transgression of the law. So you have faith, you're going to try to obey the laws the best of your ability. So it's the actual remove of guilt before the Most High. You see what I'm saying? That whole, when you try to sacrifice, I mentioned sacrifice, when you try to sacrifice this sacrificial system basically could never accomplish this. It could never accomplish what Yahweh Shai bringing faith. The sacrificial part that system pointed towards, but couldn't fully accomplish. You know what I'm saying? It pointed towards that, but it couldn't accomplish. Verse 39, and by him, okay, forgiveness and that liberation, which is freedom, came through a person, not a system. You see what I'm saying? Him is what the Yahweh Shai, the risen Yahweh Shai Paul had preached about. That's to him. All that believe are justified from all things. All that people that trust and rely on him and put their confidence in him. Okay? And by him, all that believe are justified from all things from which I could not be justified by the law of Moses. See what I'm saying? Could not be justified, meaning he could be, from which you could not be justified, meaning you couldn't be freed. Okay? So the law has limits. Okay? It could basically expose the sin. It could regulate behavior. You know what I'm saying? But it can't remove the guilt and you fully be justified, meaning made righteous. It couldn't do that. It said by the law of Moses, okay? This is what a lot of the people back then, they trusted in, the law of Moses. You know, Apostle Paul wasn't trying to dog out the law. He was just kind of redefining the role of the law, what the law was. That's what he was basically doing. You know, the law basically, it'll point to the need of Yahweh Shai, but it ain't gonna don't replace Yahweh Shai. That's the point where people don't get. Particular law don't replace him. Okay, let me see Romans, the first chapter. Verse 1 and Salaki. I don't think it's right there. Dead of the Greeks, for the sharing of the gospel. Where they right? That's it right there. Romans 1:17. For therein is the righteousness of the Most High Yahweh revealed from faith to faith, as it is written, the just shall live by faith. Okay, it says that the just shall live by faith. That's Habakkuk, the 2nd chapter, verse 4. Just shall live by faith. So it says, for therein is the righteousness of God revealed from faith to faith. And it is written, okay, the righteousness of the Most High. What is written? The gospel, the good news. You see what I'm saying? The good news the good news is where something is revealed to the people. That's why they always gather around and hear that word of Yahweh Shem Yahushua. Okay, and it says the righteousness of God. So Paul leaned heavy on this. He leaned on the righteousness of Yahweh Shem Yahushua and what, you know what I'm saying, the SOP. He didn't lean towards no human, so to speak, ways or achievements or none of that. Because he didn't care about that sacrifice and being just because you went to church, you know what I'm saying, because you went to the temple. No, he didn't believe in it. Okay. It says revealed. Revealed is basically something made known. Let me look up that up. 601. Apocalypto.
Strong's G 601. Apocalypto.
That's where you get the word apocalypse. Okay. To uncover, to lay open what has been what veiled and covered up, disclose and make bare, to make known. The apocalypse everything is gonna be made known to the world. The destruction made manifest. To take off the cover. Okay. To take off the cover. So it was hidden. The righteousness of God revealed. It used to be hidden in that law when they were doing the law and when they were doing sacrifice. The reveal the things hidden. They were hidden in that, but now they openly display in Yahweh Shai. You see what I'm saying? When the gospel came, basically pull the curtain back. The law was kind of like that man in the Wizard of Oz behind the curtain. So that's what it was like. You ever watch the Wizard of Oz? In the end, he found out the puppet master is behind the damn curtains. So it's kind of what the gospel pulled back that curtain. It showed you that a lot of things was revealed, were hidden in that when you do law and sacrifice. But when you come to Yahweh Shai, everything is brought in the open. Okay? And you read that word faith to faith, this confuses a lot of people. Faith to faith basically means from start to finish. That's what it means. From start to finish. Let's see if they got a definition of faith to faith. They might just have faith. I don't know if they got faith to faith. Faith to faith. Yeah, it's like the same. 4102. Pistis. Conviction of truth of anything you believe. See that? The conviction of belief respecting their relationship to the Most High divine thing, generally with the included idea of trust and holy fervent born of faith. See, born. When you born, that's the start of your life. Born of faith and joined with it. So faith to faith is basically like meaning from the start to the finish. Your origin is faith, and your results of your life is going to be dealing with faith, okay? And it says, as it is written, you know. Paul, he's showing that that's a fulfillment, okay? A fulfillment from that, the just shall live by faith, because it was actually prophesied in Habakkuk. So he is a fulfillment. It was prophesied in Habakkuk, the 2nd chapter. See that? Behold, his soul, which is lifted up is not right upright in him, but the just shall live by faith. You see that? The just shall live by faith. So that's a fulfillment. Romans 1:17. Paul was a fulfillment of that. Habakkuk 2:4. You see what I'm saying? He ain't inventing nothing new. It's what it is. Same faith, bro. And you have some people that go, they always speaking of the law. But why you don't have faith? I remember when he was calling us at one time faith-based Israelites. But when you go into the 3rd chapter of Romans, you go, I'll just read into it. But now the righteousness of the Most High, Yahweh, without the law is manifest, being witnessed by the law and the prophets, even the righteousness of God, which is by the faith of Yahweh Shai Mashiach to all and upon all them that believe of the Israelite foreigners. It's not the whole world. It's not the heathens. Okay, it's the Israelite foreigners who were scattered to those different regions, coming out of the nation of Israel. It says, for there is no difference between those Jews and those Gentiles who are the Israelite foreigners, because they all from the nation of Israel. It wasn't talking about the heathens and the Jews. That's why we like, oh, Jew nor Greek, that we in it. No, those Greeks were Israelites that took on the customs of those Greekish lands they were in, ruled by the Edomites. Okay, they took on those customs. They tell you that. You go back all the way to Maccabees, the 1st chapter, how they made a covenant with the heathen. Okay, it says, for all have sinned and come short of the glory, being justified freely by his grace through the redemption, and grace is a gift, through the redemption that is Mashiach Yahweh Shai, whom the Most High have set forth to be a propitiation. Propitiation. That's propitiation is that word, particular word is. Let me look it up right quick. The basically like a mercy seat. Okay, let's look it up. Make sure I'm right. Propitiation. Helasterion. Helasterion.
Strong's G 2435. Elastadion.
Relating to or a pleasing and explaining, having placating or explaining force. Explanatory. It means a pleasing and explaining a propitiation used to cover. Let me see. Propitiation. Propitiation. Let's see what we got. The act of propitiating or appeasing a God, spirit, or person. What does propitiation means biblically? The act of appeasing or satisfying God's wrath against sin through a sacrificial offering. Atonement is another word. Appeasement, conciliation. You see? Okay. So, Yeah. So he sent that the faith in the blood to declare his righteousness for the remissions of sins that are past, the forbearance of the Most High, to declare, I say at this time, his righteousness, that he might be just, and the justifier of him which believe in the justifier of him who believeth in Yahweh Shai. See that? So it's all you gotta believe in Yahweh Shai, man. And it says right here, it says, where is boasting then? Question. Is it excluded by the law of works? Nay, but by the law of faith. See, it's excluded by the law of faith. It says faith is a law. So if you obey, if you one of those people want to obey the law, it's all about the law, then guess what? You got to have faith. If you don't have faith, then you ain't obeying every law. And if you mess up on one, you mess up on them all. Okay? What is boasting then? Boasting is a status. See what I'm saying? When people achieve certain things, they try to speak with this confidence of their performances they did. They want to speak highly of what they did. Low key, they want to make it about them, but the way this society is set up, you gotta act like you humble, and them giving you that chance. It's always Jake be like, I'm just want to thank for this person. It's always a damn Edomite. It's always your enemy giving you a chance. You're so grateful for him helping you become so when you could go pay your bills and don't have it, or you can go eat at a fine restaurant and buy clothes, buy the prettiest clothes. You thank your slave master for that shit all the time. Okay? That's boasting. Okay? And then even in this, it includes keeping laws and the ethnic privilege of being a Jew. If you got that privilege, yeah, you're gonna boast. You see what I'm saying? So Paul basically right here is, so to speak, dissing that human pride, because humans have that pride. Is it excluded? What is boasting? Is it excluded? Is it shut out completely? You know, he's saying, what kind of law? You see what I'm saying? By the law of works. Because when you deal with works, a work-based system gonna produce boasting. Because if you earn it, guess what? You're gonna brag about it. That's what people do. When they get all these little jobs, they making this money, they buy a new car, they gonna brag about it to their closest friend. Or, you know, if they real boasters, they just brag about it to everybody they see. Always talking about what they got, their job, whatever, and the benefit, the goodness of their job. What people always boast. When it's about work, you earn it, you're gonna boast about it. So same way with the law. In dealing with the truth, they gonna boast about it, right? And it says, nay. Is it excluded by the works of the law? Okay, by the law of works, it says nay. It says, but by the law of faith. So faith faith kind of excludes that boasting. You see what I'm saying? Faith receives where the other one can't. Faith points out from self towards Yahweh Shai. Faith, when you got faith, you point everything away from you. Boasting is all about you. So, you know, well, brother, I keep the law. I wear my fringes, brother. Shit, brother, I do the Shabbat. I do it every. And then Jake don't be messed up when they do it every Friday and every Saturday. Not knowing the new moon is on different phases. Jake be boasting about it. But then the same sins got their head lined up. Got their beard lined up. You know, being some weirdo shit. Okay? By the law of faith. So faith is a law. Okay? And when you call it a law, what you're doing is you highlighting the consistency of faith. You know, when you do works, it's about boasting. Grace through faith. When you do grace through faith, you're going to have what? Humility. You're going to be humble. Okay? So since boasting is excluded, as you read right there, then justification can't be by works. Being made righteous can't be by a work. It just said it right there. It can't be by works. It's through Yahweh Mashiach. You see, back to Galatians. I'm going to end right here. I had read 16, but I'm going to jump down to the last verse. It says, I do not frustrate the grace of the Most High Yahweh, for if righteousness come by the law, then the Mashiach is dead in vain. See that? So Paul refuses to treat grace like an option. He's not going to do it. You see? You know? So, if you basically observe the law as a requirement, it doesn't improve your grace. It's basically going to cancel it. So you go back, it says, for if. Okay, so this suppose it were true. Suppose that's why I say for if. So suppose it was true. That's what that means. Righteousness, right? Righteousness meaning what? Right standing with the Most High, we already read it, is if righteousness come by the law. If that being able to stand rightful, be it righteous, came by the law, the achievements of obedience to the Torah, it says then, if righteousness came by the law, it said then a Mashiach, right? How about Shemyahushai is dead in vain, so he lived in vain with no purpose for him to be here. It was unnecessary, it was meaningless for him to come and die for the sins of the Israelites, his people. If the law could save, guess what? The cross was basically pointless. You see what I'm saying? That was basically pointless if it was all about the law. All that right there in Matthew, Luke, John, Luke, John, Mark. Really, from that point on, it shouldn't even be no what they call a New Testament. See? So, man, I tell you, it's if it was by the law, like it said, all that what Yahushua did was just for nothing. Okay. And I know in Hebrews it talks about them, it's talking about the Lord afresh. Some people, they mess up so bad, they be wishing the Lord would come back and die on the cross again. But he's not going to do it. So you better get right. Because grace and law-based righteousness can't exist in one place. I'm going to say that again. Grace and this law-based righteousness can't exist. So it's all about faith. Okay? The substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. So that right there, I hope is edifying to the election of Israel. I hope you have an understanding of these people that are always talking about the law, and not living by faith. And when they call you a faith-based Israelite, shit, man, all you got to do is go to Galatians 2:16, Romans 1, okay, and Romans 3:27, because faith is a law. And if they obeying the law, ask them why they not having faith, because faith is a law. So with that, man, call law Yahweh Hashem Yahushai, Hashem Wahara Chakudash. Double honors to the apostle, elders, bishops, GMS, who rule well, teach well. Salutations of Shalom.